there. They may contain evidence. The first, received February 2nd, reads, "Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. You will need to send Bitcoin in the amount of $4 million before 5 p.m. on Thursday the 5th. If payment is not received, the ransom will be increased to $6 million, which will need to be paid by 5 p.m. on Monday the 9th. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me here from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you." And then they added at the very bottom of the note, "She had a white watch on the floor of the foot of her bed, and the white floodlight in the backyard was destroyed." After that note was sent, 4 days passed. The family agreed to not go public with the letter. And then a follow-up note arrived with a much different tone and message. It reads, "We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done."
Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. That is how the first ransom note began. It arrived at a Tucson television station on February 2, 2026, one day after 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in the Catalina foothills. The note demanded $4 million in Bitcoin, warned that the ransom would rise to $6 million if the deadline passed, and ended with a chilling promise. If payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. 4 days later, a second note arrived. Addressed to the Guthrie family, its tone had shifted completely. "We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition." It read, "We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We want your family to know this and hope you all can find peace. We are truly sorry." Think of a Google Nest doorbell camera mounted on a house in an upscale Tucson neighborhood, quietly recording the night of January 31, 2026. Think of the footage it captured: a masked man, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", wearing a black Ozark Trail backpack, approaching the front door, tampering with the camera. Think of that footage existing alongside 2 ransom notes, a hair sample that led nowhere, a complex mixture of DNA from 4 or more people, and a family that has spent 6 months begging for answers. Now think of a hard drive sitting in an evidence room, not because it's empty, but because the technology to decode what's on it doesn't quite exist yet. The footage is there, the notes are there, the DNA is there. But the key to unlocking them is locked inside a problem that science is still trying to solve. If a digital ghost is writing the script, and the system is still learning how to read it. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Endless Cryme. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. This is not a story about a simple kidnapping. This is a story about a case that has everything: ransom notes, video evidence, DNA, a high-profile victim, a grieving family, a 100,000 FBI reward, and 6 months of nothing. It is a story about a system that has collected all the pieces but cannot put them together. And at the center of it all is an 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker.
It's pretty shocking to say, but this coming Saturday, August 1st, marks 6 months since Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, went missing. Just Monday, Savannah once again took to Instagram to appeal to the kidnapper's humanity in this new plea for them to do the right thing.
"The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end."
Who needs daily medication for a heart condition, who has difficulty walking, and who was last seen at her home on the evening of January 31, 2026. Nancy Guthrie was dropped off at her home that Saturday night. She was supposed to attend a virtual Sunday church service the next morning. When she didn't show up, family members grew concerned. By the time authorities were alerted, she was gone. Blood was found near the front doorstep. Her phone and essential medication were left behind, and then the notes began to arrive. The first note was sent to Called TV, the Tucson CBS affiliate, on February 2. It was addressed directly to Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show anchor and Nancy's daughter. The note was explicit: $4 million in Bitcoin, a 7-day deadline, a warning not to contact law enforcement. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. It ended with a detail that seemed designed to prove authenticity. She had a white smartwatch on the floor of the foot of her bed, and the white floodlight in the backyard was destroyed. That detail is crucial. The kidnapper, or someone pretending to be the kidnapper, knew things only someone who had been inside the house would know. The watch, the floodlight, the layout of the bedroom. This is what made the notes feel real. This is what made the family believe. And this is what has made the investigation so maddeningly difficult. 4 days later, the second note arrived. It claimed Nancy had died shortly after being taken. We believe it was heart-related. The tone was apologetic, almost sympathetic, but law enforcement experts see it differently. Retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer called it a self-serving statement.
The first one, just horrific and basically threatening to kill Nancy, and then the second one, just it almost seems like it was written by a different person. Essentially, it's an apology. And a few new things we learned today, Blake, quickly, that from the sheriff's office, they're confirming the video that we've seen from the front Ring doorbell camera. We reported this early on. They're now confirming that the video is from different nights, that the person was out there likely scoping out the place ahead of the abduction. And they're also now asking people to come forward who may know someone who was talking strangely about Nancy Guthrie, who's now avoiding the neighborhood, who has unexplained injuries like cuts or bruises, a change in physical appearance, who was cleaning their vehicle in a strange way. They've never gone to this extent to put this kind of a list out and ask people to come forward if they know anyone who meets those qualities. So I thought that was interesting. That just came out today.
She said, they know if they get caught, they're facing the death penalty if she is indeed deceased. They're in Arizona and they're trying to already make a self-serving statement. Hey, listen, we did not mean this to happen. We might have meant to kidnap her. We didn't mean for her to die. The notes were not released immediately. Law enforcement and the Guthrie family asked media outlets to hold off on reporting the contents so that any future communications could be authenticated. For 6 months, the public knew only fragments. Then, on July 31, 2026, the 6-month anniversary of Nancy's disappearance, the Pima County Sheriff's Department released the notes in full.
Somebody will look at this and be like, I know somebody that talks like that or writes like that. I got to tell you, Jennifer, I find it so bizarre the way it's written. It's like we and then me, and the tone is completely different. They're threatening to kill her. She knows about it. She's scared. And then, we're so sorry. We didn't realize what condition she was in. We hope you find peace. This written by the same person?
Well, it is, but for different reasons. That second note is self-serving. I don't call it a ransom note. I call it an apology note because they know if they get caught, they're facing the death penalty. If she is indeed deceased, they're in Arizona, and they're trying to already make a self-serving statement. Hey, listen, we did not mean this to happen. We might have meant to kidnap her. We didn't mean for her to die. And I think that's the purpose of this thing.
Why now? Because the case has gone nowhere. Sheriff Chris Nanos insists it is not cold.
And look, after 6 months, it's a fair question to ask if whether or not the case has gone cold. Something my next guest, Wyatt Sharp, host of the Sharp Exchange and Gen Z political commentator, was able to ask Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos in an in-depth interview just yesterday.
The question was asked of me, is this case cold? It is not cold. We have a lot of evidence that, like I say, our scientific labs are working. There's video evidence that we continue to work with, not just labs, but also some private corporations who have graciously given their time to help look at some of the video evidence and see if we can't piece things.
When asked directly, he said, the question was asked of me, is this case cold? It is not cold. We have a lot of evidence that our scientific labs are working. There's video evidence that we continue to work with not just labs, but also some private corporations who have graciously given their time to help look at some of the video evidence and see if we can't piece things together. But the evidence is not producing results. A hair found inside Guthrie's home was tested and did not lead to a suspect. DNA from a glove found near the scene did not match anyone in the national database. And a complex mixture of DNA from 4 or more people found at the home has proven extremely difficult to decode. Sheriff Nanos has been forced to defend the investigation at every turn. In a rare and lengthy interview with journalist Wyatt Sharp.
So just this week, we were showing Savannah put out this new plea. You asked Sheriff Nanos about his relationship with the Guthrie family, which has always been kind of a question mark. What did he tell you?
Yeah, it was really interesting because in the beginning, he tried to make it out as if the relationship is very strong. He said that the Guthrie family and him are on good terms. He had said that she has his contact information, as does the rest of the Guthrie family. But then he said that they haven't spoken to each other recently, which I thought was particularly kind of perplexing in general, but particularly because we're coming up on the 6-month mark, as you pointed out, on this Saturday. I thought that there might have been some type of an effort from him or his office to reach out to her and kind of at least update them on where things stand in the investigation, but according to his account,
On July 28, 2026, Nanos made several startling admissions. He said the Guthrie family and his office are on good terms, but then admitted they haven't spoken to each other recently, even as the 6-month mark approached. He said he has never met FBI Director Kash Patel, a statement that raised eyebrows given the national profile of the case. The relationship between local law enforcement and the FBI has been a source of intense friction. FBI Director Kash Patel has publicly accused.
A lot was said from, I guess, Director Patel about how we delayed contacting them. I just think he's misinformed and doesn't understand that that evening when this event was actually the afternoon of the first one we first learned of it.
Yeah.
Our detectives were called in after our search and rescue team recognized what they had, contacted our investigative teams. They immediately contacted the Violent Crime Task Force, and their representatives were there.
And just following up on that, what did he tell you about his office's work with the FBI now?
Yeah, again, going back to kind of the comment that Kash Patel made in an interview with Fox News talking about how the FBI was delayed and how they weren't allowed to go onto the scene because Chris Nanos' office hadn't reached out to them, hadn't kind of extended that hand to cooperate with them in the investigation. He said that he thinks, obviously, as you heard there, Kash Patel is misinformed, but he went a step further than that and said that Kash Patel is sharing false information and receiving false information, he had said, from those around him, which he said he believes is actively hurting
The Pima County Sheriff's Office of keeping federal investigators out of the case for the first 4 days after Nancy's disappearance. Patel claimed that the delay may have resulted in the loss of critical video evidence from Guthrie's Google Nest camera. Sheriff Nanos pushed back hard, telling White Sharp that Patel is misinformed and sharing false information that is actively hurting the case. Nanos said his detectives contacted the Violent Crime Task Force immediately and FBI representatives were there. But the damage was done. The public was left with 2 law enforcement agencies pointing fingers at each other while an 84-year-old woman remained missing. And then there is the question of the notes themselves. Are they real? Are they fake? Were they written by a kidnapper or generated by artificial intelligence? Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer has been vocal about her belief that the notes were AI generated.
100%, Jesse, but from the get-go, I have always believed and still believe this is AI generated. The phrases are awkward. The words that are used are awkward. The phraseology is very pattern driven. This is AI, I feel very certain, which tells me they're smart. Because they don't.
Well, if they're smart, and you know this better than anyone, can't law enforcement go to these AI companies, go to ChatGPT and say, has anybody wrote anything like this? Is there any way you could search it? It's difficult, right? Because usually we find a suspect and then we go through their search history. I don't know if there's any platforms. I don't know if you can use AI and ChatGPT to try to find something like this, but do they have a mechanism in place to see if anybody used the platform to craft a letter like this?
I think it's going to be very difficult, but what isn't difficult, Jesse, is to do it. In other words, right now, if you ask Claude or ChatGPT or these other platforms and give it the proper prompt, especially, and I'm not convinced that this person isn't a first language other than English. If you prompt them in Spanish and give the right prompt, you come up with something very similar.
Brian, is this real? Is it legitimate? Because the one thing that I hold on to, sure, anybody could send any kind of message. Didn't they know details that only law enforcement or the kidnappers would know? I mean, that last passage at the very end signifies to the reader, we're the real deal. How else would they know about the watcher?
She pointed to the formal phrasing, the lack of spelling errors, the pattern-driven writing. She said, from the get-go, I have always believed and still believe this is AI generated. The phrases are awkward. The words that are used are awkward. The phraseology is very pattern-driven. I feel very certain. She also noted that the notes could have been generated in another language and translated. If you prompt them in Spanish and give the right prompt, you come up with something very similar. This theory is not without support. Other experts have noted that the writer heavily relies on passive voice and uses in then sentence construction that suggests at least a high school-level education, but also a certain mechanical quality. The notes lack the emotional rawness you would expect from a real kidnapper. They read like a script. They read like someone asked an AI to write a ransom note and then copied the output. But here's the problem. Even if the notes were AI generated, the detail about the watch and the floodlight had to come from somewhere. Someone had to know those details. Someone had to be inside that house. The AI didn't break in. The AI didn't tamper with the doorbell camera. The AI didn't take Nancy Guthrie. The AI is just the mask. The person behind the mask is still out there. A digital ghost is writing the script, and the system is still learning how to read it. This is the question that reframes this entire story as a thriller. What do you do when your only witness is a camera that recorded a man in a mask? Your only evidence is a note that might have been written by a machine, and your only hope is a DNA sample so complicated that the technology to decode it hasn't been fully invented yet. Because the system did not fail to investigate. The system investigated. The system has notes. The system has DNA, but the system is stuck. The video shows a masked man, but no one has identified him. The notes contain linguistic patterns, but no one has DNA is a complex mixture of 4 or more people, and the science of deconvoluting such mixtures for genetic genealogy is still being developed. Cecilia Moore, a forensic DNA expert, explained the challenge. There are hundreds of thousands of genetic markers that we need for genetic genealogy. If you say 700,000 genetic markers, which is what we typically use, times 4 or 5, that means there are millions of genetic markers in that DNA sample that they have to go in and try to separate out and figure out which of those A's, T's, C's, and G's belong to each of those separate individuals. And I think that is what's holding up that process. The technology is improving. New techniques are being developed, but science moves slowly. Moore said, it may take months or even years and something that is viable for genetic genealogy. Months or years. For a family that has already endured 6 months of agony, Savannah Guthrie has been pleading publicly for answers. On July 27, 2026, she released an emotional video saying, "The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end." A sheriff's department has also been pleading with the public. In their statement releasing the notes,
Yeah, Rob, the sheriff's office also goes on to say these communications reveal distinctive patterns of word choice, syntax, and phraseology that reflect the writer's unique linguistic style. They go on to say a friend, family member,
they said, these communications reveal distinctive patterns of word choice, syntax, and phraseology that reflect the writer's unique linguistic style. A friend, family member, coworker, classmate, or acquaintance may recognize these patterns. They also released a list of behavioral changes to watch for: changes in mood, unexplained injuries, changes in physical appearance, sudden departures, vehicle cleaning, unusual interest or disinterest in the neighborhood or the investigation. The sheriff's department acknowledged that people with information may be reluctant to come forward. This may be due to their close relationships with those who might be involved, as well as a concern for their own safety, reputation, or standing in the community and amongst their friends. We recognize that relationships and loyalties change over time, as do people and their perspectives. It is not too late to come forward, but 6 months have passed. 6 months of tips, of leads, of hope followed by disappointment. 6 months of a family in agony. 6 months of a community in shock, and still no arrest. Still no suspect, still no Nancy. The Pima County Sheriff's Department says the case is not cold, but the public is beginning to wonder. The release of the ransom notes at the 6-month mark was a gambit, a last-ditch effort to generate new leads in a case that has stalled. The notes had already been leaked in part. Releasing them in full was a calculated risk. Expose the evidence to the public and hope that someone, somewhere, recognizes something. But the risk is real. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer said, "As a law enforcement officer, if I was the case agent on this, I would just shudder that this ever got leaked, any parts of it. And that's because it really hurts when it comes to interrogation later. It hurts when it comes to figuring out whether people who are calling in with different information got it from the media or got it because they did this." The release of the notes may generate tips. It may also contaminate the investigation. But after 6 months with no results, the sheriff's department decided it was worth the risk. Sheriff Nanos has been careful in his public statements. He has not ruled anyone out. When asked about the family, he initially said they were not persons of interest. But more recently, he has said, no one is being ruled in or out.
You know, Brian, there was an update today regarding the investigation about the sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office came out today and said, no one is being ruled in or out. That is very different than what we heard several months ago. Are they talking about the family?
I mean, they're saying nobody's ruled out, so I think they're talking about everybody. I was interested because these two men who were detained at different points. Remember, we went out on those SWAT raids. They detained two men. Yeah, and then they let them go, and all indications are they weren't involved at all. We still haven't been able to see the search warrants, but the sheriff even won't say that they are officially cleared. So it's a different tone than he took in the beginning when he made very clear, the family are not persons of interest, and now he's just saying broadly, nobody.
Everything is still on the table. The family is not cleared. The friends are not cleared. No one is cleared. The investigation is wide open, and it has been wide open for 6 months. A digital ghost is writing the script, and the system is still learning how to read it. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $100,000 for information leading to the location of Nancy Guthrie and/or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in her disappearance. The reward has been posted for months. No one has come forward to claim it. The doorbell camera footage shows a masked man on the property on the night of January 31. The FBI has released still images of the suspect, a male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10", with an average build, wearing a black Ozark Trail backpack. Someone knows who that man is. Someone has seen that backpack. Someone has noticed a change in behavior. Someone has information that could break this case open. But that someone has not come forward. Maybe they are scared. Maybe they are loyal to the wrong person. Maybe they don't realize how significant their information is. Or maybe, just maybe, they are the person in the mask. The ransom notes are a public document now. They are available through the Pima County Sheriff's Department, which posted them on social media on July 31, 2026. Read them. Look at the language. Look at the syntax. Look at the passive voice, the if, then, constructions, the awkward phrasing. Look at the shift in tone between the first note and the second. And then ask yourself one question. At what point does an investigation become a waiting game? And at what point does the waiting become the story itself? Drop your answer in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for endless crime. We don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence.